Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. We are here at Potocara. It is a little cafe here in the center of Ponce. Today I have a special treat for you because we are going to explore all of the wonderful things to see here in Ponce. But first, the most important ingredient for today's fun, coffee. See you in a minute. So back when the Spanish ruled the area here, it was actually, Ponce was one of the largest towns and had 22,000 people. And in the 19th century, the US came over and they fought and kind of destroyed the whole sugar cane plantations here. There was slavery here. When the US tried to conquer a lot of the islands and the sugar cane for trade, the Spanish were like, nope, not gonna have it, and they pretty much destroyed everything. But you'll see a lot of the Creole and Spanish influences in the architecture here. All right, so we're going to take a walking tour of Ponce. Just to give you a little history, Ponce was established in 1692 by Juan y Ponce, I believe. I'll put the name here. You guys know I'm terrible with names. Anywho, he was a great-grandson of the Spanish conquistador, and so we're gonna go take a walking tour to see what little historical gems we can find. I'm hoping that it doesn't rain too bad so I can show you guys all this cool stuff.
Good morning, my name is Nori. I'm going to be your local tour guide for today here at this Isla Caribe Ponce walking tour.
The tour starts off in the center of Ponce. Make sure you bring good walking shoes and plenty of water, as well as, I would suggest, an umbrella, not just for rain, but also for shade. Do not underestimate how hot and humid it can be here.
Inside the Fox Hotel is the first thematic hotel of Ponce, Puerto Rico. And the theme is pop art. So welcome to Ponce, my hometown, where I grew up. I'm glad you're here. And actually right now we are at the Fox Hotel, the first thematic hotel of Ponce, Puerto Rico. And the theme is pop art. This hotel back in the 19th century was a theater. But later on, Francisco Poblata Doria, one of the best architects by the 20th century, built this structure to be also a theater, but they started calling it the Fox Delicias Theater because it only played Fox Century. Right now we are at the historic site of Ponce, Puerto Rico, and all this eclectic city that you are admiring right now, we built this city, but not with rock and roll. We built this city because a lot of people worked very hard and mostly slaves, okay? So let's just understand that this city was built thanks to a real decree of grace in 1815 that permitted a lot of immigrants to move here, acquire land, and build all these monumental structures, mostly in Ponce after 1830s, sorry. So now we're gonna start walking in what is La Plaza de las Delicias, or the Plaza of Delights. A writer and a politician from the Autonomous Party. The Autonomous Party pretended to keep Puerto Ricans out of the chains of the Spanish crown. It was founded right here in Ponce, Puerto Rico in 1877. People were saying that he was supposed to be the first elected governor. But as soon as the US invaded in 1898, no way, Jose, because being from a liberal movement, danger, danger. But he trained his son, and actually his son became the first elected governor of Puerto Rico, Luis Muñoz Marin, like the airport. So Ponce is known by many names. The City of Lions, the Manorial City, el pueblo de las quenepas, o la ciudad de las quenepas, that is an American tropical food that we stock at the
One of the things that you need to understand about when you visit Ponce is that they were hit by 2 major hurricanes and an earthquake in a very short period of time, all during the pandemic when it was very hard to get resources. So as she took us through the city, there were different buildings that are very historical and important to Puerto Rico, but we weren't able to go in. So just keep that in mind as you're planning your trip to Ponce. Despite some buildings still being under repair, I definitely think it's worth at least a day trip to see all there is to see in Ponce.
The early 1500s, so they couldn't keep with their traditions, their religion, their culture, and so much more, so they chose music of a way of expression. And that's how the first music of the Caribbean was born. Afro-Caribbean music, la bomba. La bomba, ay que rica, me sube el ritmo por los pies, por los pies. But we're not gonna talk about bomba right here. We're gonna talk about plena. Because they say la plena is from Guayama, la plena is from Mayagüez, but I'll say la plena que yo conozco no es de la China ni del Japón, porque la plena viene de Ponce, viene del barrio de San Antón, porque la plena viene de Ponce, viene del barrio de San Antón. What does that say? It says, la plena that I know is not from China, neither from Japan. It comes from Ponce, from the hood of San Antón. And what was la plena? La plena was kind of the musical newspaper in the 19th century that pretended to tell events to the locals in a sort of kind of funny way. So they say when the first bishop arrived to this church, they played this song. Mamita llegó el obispo de Roma. Mamita, si tú lo vieras, qué cosa linda, qué cosa mona. Mama, here comes the bishop. Look at him. What a monkey. What a cutie. So imagine, like that, many other planas surpassed time to tell us the events that were going on or happening by the 19th century or before, like another plana that goes, temporal, temporal, allá viene el temporal, singing that here comes the storm, here comes the hurricane. Because that's an event that we are so used to, from centuries. So now we're walking inside La Plaza Frederico de Quito. This is the other plaza of Ponce. No Instagram, no Facebook. People were desperate to socialize. And this was the spot. They say people didn't mind. They wanted to come to Ponce because having such an important port made possible that Ponce started to be the mecca for a lot of things. Music, art. This was the canvas for a lot of architecture. Smells fishy around here. They say you're a player. Next is she waved her fan, closed it, and put it on her forehead. She was saying, I'm thinking about you day and night. And if she waved her fan, closed it, and did like this, they're gonna catch us. They're gonna catch us. My husband's close. Or maybe my father. So if she waved her fan, closed it, and put it on her side, and she was saying, oh my God, I'll wait for you in the next garden. Or maybe in the alley of love. And we're going to the alley of love because in this tour, I like to keep on the tradition, okay?
They say Ponce is called the City of Lions because of Juan Ponce de Leon. It is said that he is responsible for the city and its growth since the 1600s. One thing I really loved about this tour is that she gave us time to actually take fun pictures throughout the tour and even helped us take them.
So right now, we are in front of the oldest structure in the downtown square area, 1847. La Casa de Ayuntamiento, la Casa Alcaldía, in South America, la Municipalidad, the City Hall. It was also, back then, a prison where the last public killings were made.
So is it haunted?
Oh, no wonder where a lot of people who have worked there, they always had experienced some paranormal activity. So let me tell you that also there were some people, locals, talking about they had some underground tunnels that go under the city hall, through the church, through outside the city, but they have been blocked for years. Someone told me that they used them to take slaves and baptize them. And also, it was kind of the highway to church for the witches. That's un roble amarillo, a yellow oak. And we're in season, so they are blooming beautifully all around Ponce. Just an example of how many services just one tree can provide to us. They say this tree was the one that they tried to use with Juan Ponce de Leon when he got hit by an arrow in La Florida, but it didn't work out. The antidote didn't work out in him.
What's the tree?
It's un white oak, un roble blanco.
Oh, okay.
A white oak. So also, this is one of the preferred woods for our traditional saints carving, el roble blanco.
On the way to the Alley of Life, you will find a mural about Calle 25 de Enero. It is the 25th of January street where the Victorian village of the revered volunteer firemen that disobeyed orders in January of 1899 and saved the city of Ponce.
So this is the famous community, La Calle 25 de Enero. City of Ponce, but they were asked for withdrawal. Now you need to go. Little did they knew that we were fighting with fire from centuries ago. But you know what happened? A lot of people got scared and they went to their homes. Only 7 men and a civil stood still, which they say is the great-grandfather of Benicio del Toro, Rafael Rivera Esprit. And you know what happened? They extinguished the fire. And the next day, they got incarcerated for committing the first disobedience in history. But people started to protest because they believed that they were the heroes of Ponce. So around the 1906, the municipality and the government started a raffle, one house per year for 50 years. And this is how this street has become one of the famous streets in Ponce, Puerto Rico, La Calle 25 de Enero. And now, gracias, and now we're going outside to this alley, the Alley of Love, El Callejón Amor. Bésame, bésame mucho. So this is the Instagram moment, Paseo Amor. So how we gonna do this is whoever wants the picture, stand right here. Give me un besito. In this mural photo across the street. This is one of the biggest theaters in the Caribbean with a capacity of more than 1,000 people. This was the place where the Autonomous Party was born in 1877. The place where Juan Morel Campos, the best composer of danza music, had a heart attack, and a couple of days later he died on his house on La Villa at almost 40 years old, very young.
Yeah, welcome.
This is his gallery.
I was genuinely impressed with this guy's artistry, especially the compilation of celebrating women, and it wasn't just about the paintings in his compilations. In the center of this building, our guide started to share some of her ancestral stories and different healing properties that she has learned from her elders in the Taíno Tribe, which is the indigenous tribe that comes from Puerto Rico.
In my tour, I like to give the experience of the whole 5 senses. Today, I think 4. So, under the tree of El Ylang-Ylang or Ylang-Ylang, you will have an aromatherapy section. And what you're smelling is the flower of Ylang-Ylang or Ylang-Ylang. That is a tree from Western Asia or Madagascar. This tree is very important for the ancestors of this people. It has a lot of medicinal properties, is antidepressant, and so much more. From the flower, they get essential oils, and even they create one of the most famous perfumes, Chanel No. 5. El Iguero is a tree from tropical America. Actually, our ancestors, the Taínos, they used to tell the Spanishmen or in the chronicles that the fruit of El Iguero was telling the story of Earth. And that's what I'm going to tell you today. idea of the myth, okay? So Jaja had a son named Jajael. It put the bones inside the dita. This bowl is known by the name of dita. It's the half of the fruit of el higuero. It's used to believe by our grandparents or our ancestors that this bowl is a sacred bowl. Every liquid that you drop inside the bowl, it becomes medicinal. So they say, Jaja put the bones inside the dita of Jajael on top of the hot, and later on came back to see that there were no bones left, but water and fish. And it put the bones again on top of the hot, or el bohío, and all of a sudden later on 4 spirits came in, the sons of Adabeira, the mother of earth. They entered the hut of Jaja or el bohío in our ancestors' language and let the calabash fall. And that's how our ancestors, the Taínos, believe that the earth started to be filled with the life that we have as today. So whoever knows about natural history knows that probably our ancestors weren't too far about it, because actually everybody who knows about nature knows that the scientist tells that the life began on the water. So beautiful, right? So just one thing or various things that can now once again makes us believe that we need to be close to earth, maybe to bring back ancestral wisdom that we need to survive, to our survivance. For example, this tree of el higuero is all medicinal. The inside of the fruit you cannot eat. It has cyanhydric acid, but it can give you vomit or diarrhea. But it can help you with skin rashes if you have a dog with ticks also. And the flower of el higuero, it was used in a recipe with la hoja de bruja, or the witch leaf, to cure ear infections. How many of you of the Caribbean and Puerto Rico have been cured by the witch of leaf? Me. So this is it's from 82. So this is a tradition that we have to bring back, because I believe that our ancestors' wisdom or the word of our grandparents is super important. So we keep the oral information that they have is amazing. And it can help us so we can survive as today. With medicines, utensils, because for example, they use the fruit to make a lot of artifacts. Like for example, this bowl, a cup of water, a spoon. The artisans in Puerto Rico worked a lot with the higuero. They make earrings and so much more. And of course, one of the first instruments of the Americas, las maracas. Las maracas, they were not only musical instruments, they were sacred instruments for our people. The medical person of the indigenous people, el beike, he used to tell the chronicles that only with the sounds of the maracas, he could cure any disease. Nowadays, that is called sonotherapy, right?
Ponce has obviously seen its share of tragedies, but none more so than in the Ponce Massacre that occurred March 21st in 1937. It was a peaceful march in Ponce. It was attacked by police who shot and killed 19 Puerto Ricans, men, women, and children, and wounded over 200 others. The march had been organized by the Puerto Rican National Party to commemorate the ending of slavery in Puerto Rico and to protest the imprisonment by the U.S. government of the nationalist leader Pedro Albizu Campos, he was held on alleged sedition charges. The bloodshed began in broad daylight, and now there is a museum commemorating those victims of that attack. Weather here is amazing, guys. I haven't sweat at all, and there's just this cool breeze, and I'm surprised I'm not hotter than I really am. I mean, not a drop of sweat, really. It was then on to the Melia Hotel, which has been operating since 1895 and is one of the first hotels in Puerto Rico to offer a telephone line and a private bathroom. As you wind your way through the entryway, please take note of the gorgeous dress that was actually featured on the runway for Vogue of the different cultural patterns of the local Taíno tribes, where each of these panels actually represent a different tribe. Make sure to take a stop at the picture spot in the courtyard. Oh, they're stopping all the traffic for us, and I'm just sitting there videotaping myself.
This is Hagua. I made this paint myself, fermenting the fruit of Hagua, Genipa americana. It's an American sacred and ancestral tree, and it has been pretty awesome. Actually, I am learning a lot about Hagua. Hagua is very medicinal. It helps heal. So this is a semi-permanent tattoo. It lasts like a week or so, and I made the paint myself, fermented the food of La Hagua.
Huh.
Say the most famous fire station in the whole world, and the second most photographed structure in Puerto Rico after Mural. Although it says 1883, it was built in 1882 for this Paris exposition by Maximo Meana. This old car around the 1920 cars. On the back of the car, one of my favorite spots, they say one of the entrances of this underground tunnel. On the second floor, we got antiques of our firemen, pictures of our firemen corps that were volunteers back in Norway. At the second floor, a replica of El Parque de Bombas back in the 1900s. And let me just show you a picture of El Parque de Bombas. So you can see it hasn't changed quite much. Maximo Meana became the mayor in 1883.
This was the end of our tour, and there is a lot that I actually didn't include in this video because I really want you to go and take the tour yourself. There are several museums, including the Taíno Cultural Museum, that I highly suggest visiting. While you're there, just make sure you're checking opening times. There's also a boardwalk that you can go on called La Gauncha, and it has a lot of interactive spaces and places to eat and shopping. And there are some places downtown that you can shop for traditional items. I kind of got suckered in.
Alcoholic number one.
I'm too jealous.
Yes.
So, I think I'm gonna get this bag. Look at how cute. I'm a bag person. Just don't judge me. Well, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed the tour of Old Town Ponce. In the next video, I'm going to go over some of the more unique things that you can do surrounding Ponce. See you in the next one, y'all.